Oh dear. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. What? Oh, I'm very well. How are you? You want me to tell you a story? Well, I have no stories to tell, but perhaps we can create one together here on DnDTime Worlds. Welcome everyone to the first ever episode of DnDTime Worlds. This is my first time doing the stream by myself. I'm not sure if I have everything technically working correctly, so let me know if my volumes are off or if there's anything strange about sound effects, or just basically tell me that I'm making noise right now. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. For starters, I'll talk a little bit about what the general premise of this show is. For anyone, yes, I've switched it up. I've switched it up, Alex. I've got the reverse today. This is gonna be the no rules Pete. No, there's no Jeremy here today. And I can do anything that I can possibly imagine here on stream. Yeah, I'm super excited. So basically, what the core premise of this stream is going to be is, over the course of not just today, but several weeks, we are going to build a world together. Hopefully, that is at least the mission statement, and we're going to, just get ideas from chat and do it week after week. We'll name it. We'll come up with places, people, important concepts. Perhaps build our own pantheon for it. Whatever we end up kind of deciding to do. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about. Oh, it looks Suave AF. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Xanderel. Oh, and Luminieron. I like the white. Much appreciated. So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time, so we're gonna hop in pretty quick. A couple more things. So these Tuesday streams, I'm not entirely certain how often I'm going to have time to or be able to do this. I'm committing right now 100% that the first Tuesday of every month I will be doing this stream. I might do it every other week, seeing how things kind of roll together. Shiva says, next time you need a monocle and a wine glass, I'll wait, did my wine glass not appear? Because I did in fact have a wine glass. But I do also need a top hat and monocle for sure. I don't even know where one would get a monocle. But yeah, so in future Tuesdays, I might also do, and Shiva kind of mentioned this a little bit, you should do the keyboard on stream. Make that the stream. That could be one of the shows. That is a show that I actually plan to do at some point. It's going to be called DnDTime Beats when it does happen, and it's just going to be me going through how I make music. Things like the DnDTime theme song, which I'm sure you've all heard maybe one or two more times than you would have liked to by now. And yeah, Lumineer, and every other week, I'm going to try and do it. It's just going to be a question of how often I commit, because once I commit to it, I do want to make sure that I'm definitely there every time I say I'm going to be. And anything else before we get into it? I feel like there was something else that I wanted to say that was important. Oh yes, technical aspects of this show. Right now, DnDTime Worlds is on a slightly lower plane of kind of production quality than the rest of DnDTime, because, as I said, I am running it from my place in my computer, which I have never done before. So slowly over time, you'll probably start to see more of the DnDTime stuff incorporated. Like right now, you'll notice we don't have the spectator bot in chat. I don't know if that's something that we'll ever be able to get up, but maybe we'll try at some point. And I hope on getting kind of more tech in place so we can do the things that we have for, so we can do the basis of what we have on the other DnDTime shows on this one, but we'll see about that. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. That's an excellent question, Luminieron. Do we have any basis for the world, or is it complete from scratch currently? It is 100% from scratch. I have literally no idea what we're going to do today, but I think it's going to be fun. There's a couple of things that I've written down, and so I guess without any further ado, let's just dive into DnDTime Worlds. I'm very excited. So yeah, the starters, I wanted to talk about some of, as I said, we're building this completely from scratch, but these are the ideas that I want to kind of embody, and they've been up on the screen for a little bit now. If you need me to zoom in a little bit closer, I can. Also let me know that if people are having trouble reading what's on the screen. But these are the kind of the three core, this is going to be the three core pieces of philosophy that I want to take away from, and kind of guide our design. I didn't want to do too many of these because I don't want to put too many restrictions on us, but the first of them, moving through, is I wrote a world that tells a story. I want to build this world with you in a way where it's a world that could be played in. We want to create a world that's built specifically to play in. And so in that regard, we want to build elements that fuel narrative. We don't want to just build, you know, say a cool mountain and like this mountain's super tall, but we have to think about how having this tall mountain and why putting it there would be interesting to play D&D in, and why that would make a great story. And yeah, another thing that brings us very well, Shiva, to our next point. This world is going to be full of memes, which is our second point, which is I want to take this serious-ish. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not necessarily saying that we're not gonna, you know, goof around, or we can't put like silly stuff in it, or, you know, anything kind of goofy, but not just like memes for memes' sake. You know, we can have things that are cool and kind of goofy that fit into the world, but I don't want to name, you know, I want to build a world that would kind of be satisfying for everyone to play, and if they wanted to dive into, you know, a reasonably serious and kind of more like traditional game of D&D. So I don't want to like name every, you know, NPC Guy Fieri, or create Flavortown and make Guy Fieri the mayor of it. Infinite Tacos, no jokes. Jokes need to wait outside. That is true. Please make jokes. Please, tons of jokes. Just not only jokes. And last but not least, we don't want to build in a vacuum. As we come up with ideas, we want to think about how they are going to fit into the overarching kind of world that we've created. For example, DnDTime, the world of DnDTime is the complete opposite of that. It is just kind of this... we basically took a blank sheet of paper and just started sticking ideas on it. For example, the Trash Kingdom was one of the first, like, consistent world aspects that went in. And I was just like, oh, I just want to have a big dump. I just want to have a big dump. You can quote me on that. I just want to have a big kind of trash area with this goofy trash ruler. And he's going to just kind of be in the world and sit there, and I didn't think about how that would affect the world at large. We just wanted this kind of goofy thing in it. The same thing is with the Candy Kingdom. We just wanted a place where we could put candy stuff, so we just threw it all together. But I'm hoping that we can aspire to... Yep. I'm hoping that we can aspire to try and connect everything and make it feel like a living, breathing place. So let's start kind of diving in on the building. So the first thing that we're going to do here is Infinite Tacos. Step 1, the world is flat, but everyone thinks it's actually a sine wave. That is very good. So we'll start off with a name. This is something that we're not going to actually decide on today, but I wanted to not have anything to do with the name and completely source that from chat. So I would like you all, and I'm going to kind of put a soft limit on one name idea per day per person, and as people are kind of submitting name ideas, I'm going to save them all here, and then we'll maybe like, I'll pick out some of like the top ones, and then we'll do a big straw poll somewhere towards the end of creating this world, because I also don't necessarily want this series to last too long, you know, several episodes, and make sure that we kind of do it right, but, oh my god, sorry for the tangent, says Infinite Tacos, also very good. And then do like a big straw poll where everyone can vote on what we end up calling our world. So that will be, that'll be fun. So as we're going through, and I imagine it's kind of hard to just name something that we know nothing about yet, but as we're going through, anytime you have a name for the world, just type it in chat and I'll throw it on the list and we'll save it. Awesome. We already have one from Xandaril. Ardruvar. Uh, that right now is technically Xandriel. That is now the name of this world until we have come up with at least a second name so that it is indeterminate. The name of this world is Ardruvar. So let's and yeah, I like to see that. Waiting for later on. And like I said, we're not going to decide on the name today. We'll do that like a couple of episodes down the road. So let's start getting into actually building a world. And the first thing we're going to talk about are axioms. These are ideas about this world that these things have to be true in order to play Dungeons and Dragons the way it's set up. And maybe we decide that we don't like some of these and we need to change but in order to change these things, we kind of have to change the way the game works a little bit. So these are things that we probably don't want to change at least more than one of. So these are the 5 that I came up with of things that are definitely true about every D&D world, mostly. Another name from Luminieron here. We have Osirum. That is also a very cool name. Osirum. I can see that world. I can see that being the name of like a desert world, probably because it sounds a little bit like Osiris to me. But I think that's a really cool one. Thank you very much, Ive. I appreciate it. So these are the ideas that I think have to be true about a world. And if you guys have any other ones that you think I forgot, or if you disagree with me on these, please let me know. But to start with, in every D&D world, magic exists. It can be wielded by individuals as outlined in the player's handbook. This kind of has to be true in order for bards and warlocks and sorcerers and wizards to exist and to be playable classes in the world. Likewise, the gods are real and they bestow divine power on certain individuals, also as outlined in the player's handbook. So this has to be true in order for clerics, druids, and paladins to function as they do in the PHB. Ivalon, I think you should define how common magic is. Yeah, absolutely. Figuring out how magic is going to function in this world is probably a good chunk of time. I think we'll devote probably a lot to that, but that's a good point. The world has civilized and uncivilized areas. This is built, it's a little bit less intrinsic to the ranger class, but they are built in such a way that they kind of interact with a lack of civilization, and kind of, they are, in lore-wise at least, they kind of guard the outskirts of civilization. So for rangers to exist as a class, that kind of implies that they interact with that. Also, having nature is kind of a necessary thing for druids to feel relevant. I'm going to say that this world fits into the planar system, as outlined in the DMG. All of the stuff that you assume the 9 hells would presumably exist in this world. Mount Celestia, all of the kind of upper and outer planes, the Feywild, the Shadowfell. Maybe we come up with our own planes of some degree, but I think that's just a lot of work that we'll start diving into if we really want to go heavily down, like, defining a whole planar system around our world. That seems like it might be a little bit more than we can chew to start with. So for now, I think we should make that assumption. And then lastly, there's some kind of infrastructure that is allowed for the creation of magic items. Magic items are, to a degree, built into the power scaling and how it is assumed that players will kind of improve as they go on the course of the game, and we need some way for that to exist in the world, in my opinion. So yeah, there's been some stuff in the chat since then. So Luminieron asked, how much of the world is civilized? That's a thing that we will decide, and that's a really fun question to ask. That's going to be fairly defining. And then Xandarilla says, perhaps magic is real and lawful magic that is holy is very common. Arcane, though, is forbidden or rare. That's a cool idea. These are all things that can be. From the name table on the DM screen, Pafarum. I have never read the DM screen, but it shall be. So it is written, so shall it be. Oh wait, we gotta paste without formatting. What is the hotkey for that? Control Shift V. We'll do that from now. Oh no, it still did it. Thank you very much, Jeremy, and welcome now, a celebrity to the chat. Our very own Jeremy Trustaflump has now entered the chat. And Shiva says, make a world where the PCs do not exist on the material plane, and it's foreign to the... I don't know if we are going to be able to pull that one off, Shiva, but perhaps. Crystal City that holds all knowledge of magic. That is rad. Oh, and I think I missed something here. And then I've says, brings up the question of how common the gods are, and again, a true thing, and are they also figures often seen, or are they only rarely seen in fever dreams? Yeah, so these are all good questions. And I can see now that we're a hurricane of creativity, but I think we need something to ground us. So this is the first question, and the first decision I want us to make for this world. And that is... Oh, we went through axioms. That is our core theme, or conflict. We're building a world for, eventually, to play a campaign within this world, for people to play in. So I think that we should frame our world in some way that it represents a major theme. Is a starter just kind of idea of a theme? Let's talk about, because I see make mortals fight wars. Let's talk about this theme of war. We could decide, and this is going to be an extremely important decision in the kind of overarching process of building this thing, because we're going to basically, around this idea that we're going to build a campaign, for example, on war, if that's a thing that we decide, that is going to completely just define the rest of the choices that we make, and everything will branch off from there. So start throwing at me, and yes, also Xandril, fantasy. I am going to be assuming that we're making something that's pretty high fantasy, just because I think that's a good kind of common touchstone that everyone can wrap their heads around. So think kind of in the terms of a high fantasy world. So what kind of themes? Just throw some, spitball some just words at me. So we have war is one. I see people talking a lot about magic. We could build around magic as kind of the core focus of what our world is about. People have been talking about the gods a lot. We could do gods. A massive war led by gods over a playground argument. Xandril, technomancy, high or low magic. Lumineer, poverty, awesome. Poverty, that is I think that could be a really cool thing to play around with. Poverty, and I'm just going to put next to it economics, as doing a game that is heavily built around, forgot my O, heavily built around the economy and kind of maybe some very classist kind of ideas that we're going to get into and back. Xandril says, I feel like medieval is too common, so tech like Steam tech or magic tech could be cool. Slavery, Lumineer says, I'd rather stay away from slavery just because it has a lot of... there's a lot of kind of stuff in slavery that can be unsavory for a lot of people. Trustaflum says, poverty. Awesome. Pete 2018. I am pro-poverty, so much so that I have embraced that lifestyle myself. Magic tech could be cool. So yeah, we can talk about, we have tech, we could do technology, really kind of focusing on that aspect. Post-apocalyptic world in the aftermath of a divine war. Post-apocalypse. Yeah, that could be a really cool world. A lot of survival-based kind of stuff. Any others? I'm going to throw knowledge out there. This idea of possibly a dragon kingdom. Yeah, let's throw it on there. Dragons. And I'm going to put dragons and kingdoms as two separate things, because maybe we're doing dragons as a focus, and we could combine them, obviously, but maybe we're doing, a world where it's a lot about like kind of royalty and clashes of these kind of higher tier people. Aristocracy. Yeah, I'm gonna put that as a hash mark on this one, because that's very much what I had in mind when we were just talking about that as well. Aristocracy. Starjammer. Star. You know what? We're gonna put for Starjammer. We're gonna put space. A game that works heavily in outer space. That's not something I've seen that could be cool. Oh, Rebellion. I missed that a while ago from Jeremy. Rebellion. Once I get to the bottom of this page, I think we will. I think we will start kind of narrowing down and making a decision. On the other ideas, you know what? What about love? No one ever thinks about love as an idea, but maybe an entire campaign that's entire world that's built around the concepts of romance. What about robots? I mean, a robot world. We could do a robot world. I'm putting that under the category of tech. But I think there are lots of worlds that we could fit robots in one way or another. Movies shoehorn a romance into literally everything. I'm done with that. Yeah. Perhaps humans are the race least common. And yes, to talk a little bit about some of the future stuff, I have a few different sections that I have here where we'll talk about like races, potential pantheon, different factions, like what the landscape is like cities and towns and important people, like building a timeline for the world. But we have to decide some like core things. I think we got to really get friendship, effort, and victory shown in D&D. That appeals to me way more than you would think, but I would be down for a friendship, effort, and victory world. But I got a funny feeling that that's not going to. Naruto D&D, yeah. Okay, the more I'm thinking about just a Naruto-based D&D game, it's actually decreasing. It's decreasing. That sounds actually... I mean, I would love to play in one of those. I don't know if we want to build a whole world just because around the concepts of shonen anime, but that's a little bit spooky. But yeah, I would love to try playing in a Naruto D&D game. That sounds fun. A lot of monks, I imagine. Infinite Talkers. The world is so bad that every hero party is racing to destroy the world. Oh, so like a villain. Oh wait, that seems more of a... That's... Would you be villains, or I guess I don't know. That's a complicated one, but I'm interested in it. Maybe this kind of, just, we'll call it Bad World. That theme will be referred to as Bad World. Destiny. That sounds really rad. I have Destiny. A world where people are kind of fighting against fate and predetermination. Nihilistic fantasy. That's a complicated one. I don't think I could do a Nietzsche world justice. Infinite Tacos. All right, so we have a pretty good kind of chunk of stuff here, or dark fantasy. We'll get that one in under the wire here. Dark fantasy. Oh, but I love Plague too. All right, Plague as well. So we have a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm just gonna scroll that up so Plague fits on. Great. And tell me, of this stuff, what's sticking out to you the most? What of these kind of options appeals to you? We have war, we have magic, gods, poverty. We have technology, a post-apocalyptic world, knowledge, dragons, kingdoms, space, rebellion. I'm going to cross out love because that was mine. It was more of a joke. Friendship, effort, and victory. I've called it Bad World here, but basically what who had mentioned this idea? I think that was Tacos. Was it Tacos? Oh no, that was Tacos. A world where the world is bad and heroes are trying to bring it down, just to end the world. That's an interesting concept. Destiny, Infinite Tacos. likes rebellion. All right, cool. Let's highlight that one as a possibility. And I think some of these can kind of work in conjunction with each other. And by Nakshiba, the gods waging a war using people as playthings rebel against the gods. So yeah, people are really into these. This kind of concept of there being this big war, gods, magic is a must-have. Yeah, magic, no matter what, that was one of the things I was saying before, the axioms, no matter what, there will be magic. Rebellion against space dragons, Jeremy says. Destiny, it's mostly farming for loot, pretty good. So how do you guys feel about this possibility of basing everything around this idea of there being a war amongst the gods, and the people of this world are playthings within it? I know Trustaflump is very pro space dragons. Jeremy, I feel like I knew that you were pro space dragons going into this. Yes, space whales named Bill, but of course. And maybe a war between two kingdoms who worship different gods. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. And so I think that this seems to be the direction that people are kind of pushing into. Zero G Ninjas in on, it sounds like, the Gods War. I'll only like the war among the gods if the gods also descend into the mortal realm and fight with the armies like in the Trojan War. Yes, absolutely, that sounds rad. Alright, so it seems like these are kind of the things that we're going to be playing around with. There's going to be some kind of large-scale war, which is a very clear kind of... We'll get in space dragons at some point. There's going to be this large-scale war that these gods are fighting using smaller kingdoms, to kind of fight their battles for them, and people are starting to grow sick of it and realizing that they're being manipulated, and are kind of, now there are seeds of rebellion being kind of sown against the forces that are trying to control them. The gods are losing the war and weaker gods are in hiding. So yeah, now I'm just going to start kind of writing down some of these ideas, and so gods, war, and rebellion are going to be our kind of core themes here that we're going to build everything around. Oh, geez. See, these are the kind of technical difficulties and things popping up on streams when you accidentally hit buttons on your computer that we're going to have to work out over time, but... Alright, so these are just some ideas I'm seeing. What was it? The gods are losing the war, and the weaker gods are in hiding. So let's, for starters... thank you very much, Infinite Tacos. I'm very proud of that free storage. Three-way war, armies between two gods, and rebellion trying to fight against them both. So yeah, that's for starters. I think we need to figure out what are the sides in this war. And Psychopath and Ivalon, I think both of you are right. Can we make some gods? Absolutely. I think before the end of the day, we'll make... oh, bye, Jeremy. Thanks for stopping by and saying hello. I think before we get through to the end, we are absolutely going to... you're absolutely going to build at least a couple of gods. We're gonna name a couple gods. If any of you are interested in being gods, of course we will be naming gods and important characters after people from chat. But for starters, we got to figure out kind of what factions. So let's start. I'm gonna actually just move over now since we're focused very much on this. I'm gonna move over to this section I've created called the Pantheon, which we're just for kind of discerning what the gods are. So I dib a spot for a god later, for sure. So for starters, how big of a pantheon do we want to make? How many deities? How large are these two kind of opposing forces? Are there multiple gods on each side? Are there just like two gods that are kind of in combat with each other? Are there lots of gods that are all kind of vying for control of the material plane? What is their end game? Like, why are they doing this? These are kind of the first questions. Roll a D100. And also, that's a really good question, Ive. What are the gods in this world? A representation of natural phenomena or ideals? That is another question we should answer. What kind of things are the gods going to be? Representing? What are their domains? Bionic Shiba says they're doing it for some ridiculous reason on the playground. And then, do the gods have power over things, or are just powered by them? That is an interesting question. Do the gods actually have influence? So let's start making some decisions. How do you guys feel about having multiple gods all kind of entangled, or do you want this? Do you want this kind of dichotomy, this two forces that are in conflict, or a whole bunch of gods all trying to interact and get a slice of the pie? Infinite Taco statements, they are fighting over their domains. Gods battle over their domains. I think that that's a really strong and clear, and a very clear motivation for these gods to be battling. They are battling over control of territory. Maybe to the gods in this world, the prime material plane, Bionic Shiba, they're fighting because one stepped on the other sandcastle. I like that. I'm going to take that a little bit step, and actually, I think them having a trivial... I think having kind of a trivial reason for the gods to be fighting each other is pretty cool. Maybe the gods, to them, the prime material plane is just a sandbox, and they're trying to they're playing just an elaborate game of Risk, and trying to see who can end up controlling the entire map at the end. And it's just friendly competition where there's really not that much at stake for the gods, but everything at stake for the people who are the pawns in the game. Swordco here. Also, welcome, Sword. I hadn't seen you around yet. How do you guys feel about that? Is this driving things? The gods are... This world is just sort of a small game of chess for these gods. Alright, cool. The gods battle over domains. The gods are aloof to the concerns of mortals. They use them as pawns in a cosmic game. Yeah, Luminarian, or chess. Yeah, it's just like a really, really huge game of chess with tons of players. Now, do we divide the gods up into kind of categories? Are there multiple gods that are aligned? Or do you guys like the idea that each god is their own kind of... each god is their own faction with their own goals? People worship them when they mean little more than making anthills fight each other. Yeah, that's I think, a really cool kind of direction to start taking this. How about a trio where two are trying to win the affection of a third? That's a potential dynamic. Luminieron says, yeah, and I think that's a good point, too. Maybe each god has their own goal. It gives more options. Each god has their own goals and motivations. Basically... and Zenro says, I like the idea of teams of gods. And maybe we don't have to pigeonhole ourselves one way or the other. Multiple gods could be kind of working together, and, you know, maybe there's alliances. Maybe on this kind of cosmic scale, yeah, Ivalon, I was just thinking we were on the exact same wavelength there. Maybe they can make alliances. Yeah, maybe on this cosmic scale, the gods are, you know, they team up, they fight. They are just like, you know, they're very much human. These gods, to me, they feel very human. They're not these kind of pinnacles of ideology and what they believe. They are very much like the Greek gods. They fight, they squabble, they're jealous. The god of bath salts wins on pure. This crazy factor alone. Ivalon, but it'd be done with the knowledge that once the enemy is taken out, that you'd be going at each other. Yeah, I really like that. And maybe, I don't think that's something we necessarily need to decide right now, but we can also think about what happens to the god who wins. Does the god who wins gain more power? Do they ascend to like a higher echelon of strength? In some way, is there something at stake? Is there something at stake? If one god wins, does the world just reset and they play again, and it's just the apocalypse? If one god ever has true and complete control over the world, yeah. And I was just on the same. I was on the same thinking. Yeah, Shiva, we're on the same page. The god who wins laughs and clears the boards, and I think that statement is what's going to. I think that statement is what's going to incite the rebellion we wanted to talk about, because the rebellion, people who learn that if any of these factions that are kind of these powerful beings that are pulling the strings behind the scenes, that just means the end of existence as they know it. So no god could ever win according to the rebellion, and they're the people who have that information, maybe. The god who wins, and I love the way you phrased that, laughs and clears the board. I want to keep that kind of idea. And I think it's very clear, Infinite Tacos, their pettiness is their weakness. Psychopath. People see life as meaningless if they know about this, so crime would be high. And also, Ivalon, what if it's like Highlander? Like, there can be only one, and when you kill a god, you gain their power. Both... I'm gonna put that down as a maybe idea, because I just think it's so funny. That's wicked good. Highlander gods. Kill and gain power. So yeah, Psychopath was saying people would see life as meaningless if they know about this, so crime would be high. I think that most people don't know about this. I think the gods are too clever. I think the gods are too clever and smart to actually let the majority of people know, and the few that do, maybe those people do resort to crime. The people who know, though, are probably very... the people who do know are probably very... different. They're unique individuals, probably powerful individuals, and I imagine it's very far from public knowledge that this is going on. And yeah, they have a small group that figures it out, and that's what starts rebellions. And I imagine that the rebellion is probably, maybe they spread those ideas, and they are constantly shot down by the people that by the people that worship the gods as being false, as being heretics. Perhaps the gods are powerful, but not impossible to kill. I think, Xandril, and that's a really good point. I think that statement is necessary for the world that you build this campaign in to work. Perhaps, or we'll just say, gods can be killed by anyone. And when I say by anyone, I mean both other gods and even a mortal could kill a god. I don't mean to say that, Jim the farmer could kill a god, but maybe if he knew how to and the circumstances and he rolled a natural 20, maybe yes. Or, 30 natural 20s in succession. In Lumiere, and the hero has to go around and kill all the gods. I mean, maybe that's what the hero's party is. Maybe the party... and I think that's what's going to be very cool about this world, is there are tons of ways you could take it, and if you were building a party in this world, as a DM, you might not even tell the players that this is what's going on and give them the opportunity to find out. Maybe they work in service of a god to begin with. They're one of these kind of factions, or in some way being manipulated. Just a flump. If gods are playing a game, then they have rules, of course. That is a very good point. The rules of the gods game. Natural disasters are like temper tantrums. Someone starts losing and starts hitting pieces. Luminaire, and you can make the gods feel super powerful but still have them killable. Absolutely, I agree. So, what is the scale? I think this is a good place to start. How many gods are there? How big? Do we want to do like a huge pantheon with tons of factors? Or do we want to focus on like, you know, a very small group, 2 to 5? Or like somewhere in between? Maybe like a dozen to 20 different gods that are all kind of running these different things. I don't think we want to go too high just because of the logistics of it. We want to try and... we want to kind of try and keep everything manageable in terms of actually building it. Luminaire, you should focus on a group of 10. 10 gods for 10 kingdoms. Ives says 12 players. Xanderil, 10 to 14, I think is a good limit. Probably a small group with the other gods checking in like, hey, what you doing? Okay, that's cool. There's 15 in chat, so 15 gods. That is an interesting idea, 15. God rule, no tampering with free will, manipulation is allowed. Great rule, and I'm going to agree with it. And I think some of the gods cheat, is a caveat to that. No tampering with free will. Manipulation, but not domination. That is an awesome rule. So yeah, we're kind of jumping around on numbers, and I think just to kind of put it at a nice round number, let's try and make 10 gods that are playing this game and that are engaged and really invested in the prime material plane. Actually, I'm actually gonna say 9 gods, and the reason that I've done that now is that allows us to run the gambit of alignment. A god for every alignment, a god for every play style, so to speak. And I imagine that chaotic evil god does a lot of domination, a lot of cheating. God rule, no bribing. No bribing. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like bribing other gods, or if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying? I think that's what chaotic evil god would say. Probably a small group with other gods. Oh yeah, we said that already. Bionic Sheba, hey, I thought he died. You can't just bring him back. Is that a rule that we want to have? No resurrection, undead is fine. Yeah, I think that's just a no bribing other gods. Greater and lesser gods. I think the greater and lesser gods will just be represented by the current board state. Because I imagine the state that we're going to put this world in is going to be one where some gods are winning and some gods are losing. No godly resurrection. Now that, Xanderil, is an interesting idea. Because that is a pretty big caveat. And that affects, actually, mechanics. So do you guys like that? When a creature in this world dies, they are not allowed to be resurrected through divine magics. How do you feel about that? Because that's a big decision. And I actually, when I say that that's a big decision, I like that that's a big decision. One of the things I wanted to do is have a couple of world effects, so to speak, in that mechanics that are true everywhere on the world and that define how the game is played in this world. Resurrection just doesn't exist. And I think undead do exist, because that's not a true resurrection. And Bionic Sheba, I like with the caveat that some won't play by the rules. Indeed. And maybe if someone resurrects someone, they're kind of cheating, and they're finding tricky ways to do so. Maybe reincarnation, maybe the... what's the spell? Is it just called reincarnation? What's the name of the druid spell that allows you to bring back people as different races? Maybe that's like one of the loopholes that they've found. How about resurrection is allowed by the lesser gods? Oh, so yeah, do we want to have lesser gods? Maybe it's not 9 gods. Maybe it's 9 teams. And it's not just 9 gods. Each team can have a couple of different gods, but each team is kind of in alignment, more so than anything. God 1, I'll bring you back. Undead for real. Undead all the time. And so let's I think we're at a point where we're all kind of we're getting some really good ideas, and we're starting to really get a good idea of what this world's going to be like. I think if we're going to go anywhere, the thing we have to do is I dibs a place in the chaotic neutral alignment. I think that we need to start talking about actually building some gods. What are gods in this world? What do they do? This is a question that Ivalon asked a while ago. What powers do gods have? What kind of domains exist in this world? What could a god be a domain of? Is there a life god? Is there are there death gods? Are there war gods? God 1, Cherish. I'm just gonna put, as you guys are coming up with gods, I'm just gonna put them on the list. Goddess of love. Oh wait, Cherish. Domain, love and lust. And if you have like, and then in parentheses, greed, radical. Insert row below. We have Vosto, god of control. And if you have like a defining thing, if you have a defining thing about a god that you're submitting that you want to have, like I have this section for description. If you have a little extra information, let me know that, and I'll like take notes there as well. Subdomain manipulation. Go. Control and manipulation. So, and I like these ideas of subdomains because, as you're saying, we're just going to copy and paste that one. This is a hard name to say. Insert row below. We have Zethlion, god of time. I imagine that, for example, Vosto, the god of control, the god of control, the manipulation subtag, that's like his playstyle on the board. That's how he tries to win, is through manipulating people and kind of playing the politician. We have Philagios, row below. Philagios, god of deceit and subterfuge. Deceit and subterfuge. Tremlin of revelry. Tremlin sounds like they are in for a good time. Which is obviously what revelry is, but they're just playing the game for fun. They don't really care who wins or loses. They're just in there to like be part of the group. I really love that. And I think if we kind of start fleshing out the personalities of these gods, and oh yes, Max, what is this stream about? We are building a world together. We are just kind of going through and just coming up with ideas. We started from scratch, and we're starting to get to a pretty interesting place. Ivalon, are these the greater gods or the lesser gods? I don't think we're going to define that quite yet. But we will... Oh, I put him in the wrong category. And we'll start kind of figuring out which gods are greater and which gods are lesser in a bit. I think the greater gods are like team captains for the lesser gods. Oh wait, what was Tremlin? Was revelry. I'm just getting confused because there's so much coming in. I got deceit and subterfuge. Insert row below. Oh, subdomain madness. That was a... Okay. That's a very interesting god that you got there, Infinite Tacos. I'm just going to copy and paste your note from chat. And just put it right in there. Oh, undo. Paste without formatting. There we go. we have, from Xandaril, Lageros. Trickster. Or we'll say, it'll be clear that he's a trickster by the categories of illusion and mischief. And it seems like we're leaning towards a lot of evil gods here. Someone give me a couple of good gods, y'all. Tizel, God of War. Tizel's the really, I feel like Tizel's a lawful, really play by the rules. And I'm actually going to add another, I'm going to add another column here. Oh, wait, undo. We want to insert column right. There we go. And I'm just going to write alignment here. If you have an idea for your god's alignment and you've already put them up, just write the name of the god and then what the alignment. Tramlin is a god or goddess, whatever the party requires. Excellent. Trust a Flump, I don't think there are any good gods, as all gods lead to oblivion. I think that, when I say good, I think that there's gonna be some, like, the people will think of some gods as being good, and some as being not. The gods that represent kind of established civilization would probably be the more good gods, so to speak. But yeah, that's definitely a good point. There are no real good gods in this world. So we had Held, I can't keep up, Light and Divinity. Awesome. Insert row below. Oh wait, we got alignments coming in. Lux, male god of life. I like you switching the classic life god as being male. That's cool. Life, LG, lawful good. All right. Cherish. Do we have Cherish yet? Just N. Just N. Zilith Lane, chaotic good. Oh, the chaotic good time god is the perfect alignment for the time god. That sounds very fun, even though they're all really evil gods. Vosto, CN. Ligeros, chaotic neutral. All right. And neutral evil for Pelagios. Tremlin, chaotic neutral. And then Lumineron, or neutral. That also seems like it could be good. We'll put a dash there, and I think I'm almost caught up. Yep, Max, just building a brand new random world. We're starting from scratch. We're going to do it over several weeks. Another note about just how this stream is going to work. Eventually, I'm going to make this document public, one, so people can make suggestions on it over the week, and they can look at it and kind of review what ideas we've had, and as kind of weeks go by, I will go through and kind of polish up some of the writing, add a few more details here and there, just to really kind of solidify things that we came up with here, but I'm not going to do any major building, only kind of add kind of nuance to stuff that we've already created here outside of the stream, and also, I suggest all y'all do the same, as like I said, it's just going to be up and available for at least suggestions. I won't give people edit access probably, but Lumineron. So these 9 gods will have a kingdom. I think we've moved away from there being just 9 gods, but it's more an idea of, or actually, are we at exactly 9? We did end up at exactly 9 gods. That's pretty cool. I think we're doing more of just kind of a general sort of, what's the term I'm looking for? These are just all of the gods, and some gods, we're doing alignments like teams. And so all of these gods may not have a kingdom. I don't think all of these gods have kingdoms. I think some of them just have, like, individuals. Some of them might have cults. Some of them you might not even know who worship. Like, I feel like the God of Time does not have a huge following. I feel like the God of Time has a few powerful pieces that he has kind of in play. Palin, God of Civilization. All right. Palin. All about the letter of the law. Love it. Palin is the rules lawyer. Pain. God of civilization. All right. Meanwhile, Cherish is going for the culture victory. I'm definitely putting that under Cherish. And I did it again. We'll learn one of these days to always paste without formatting. And I think I missed one. Alright, so we have a good kind of... Did I get everyone? How do I send Vosto and Lux as holy symbols? We'll hold off on any on that degree of detail, I think, for the moment. Maybe over time we'll do that. I've really imagined the God of Time has a clockwork kingdom. That could be rad. Baldal, God of Hell. Alright, I'll throw another one on. Insert row below. Oh, did I miss you as well? Alright, we'll get Karosha. These are very good names, by the way. All of y'all. Death, Decay. You guys are crushing it on these awesome god names. Tizel is lawful evil. Lawful evil. Oh wait, that was weird. Cut. Pastorino. Subdomain Kawaii. All right, we're gonna get and eventually once we have the doc up and there's like details and stuff you want to add about a god that you made, we can like get things like alignment and stuff like that in there, like in the future, because there's too much. But I think this is a cool place to start. We just got a nice pile of gods here, and we'll start kind of fleshing out a little bit more about what these gods' actual roles are. But let's talk a little bit about move away from the gods and talk more about the people of this world. And the question there is who are this world's influential or otherwise noteworthy figures, but I don't think we're going to do that just yet. Let's talk about, or actually I think better than that, we'll do factions. What are the core groups? What are the kingdoms? Yeah, everybody in the god pile. Yeah, we just got a huge pile of gods now that we're gonna have to go through and figure out a little bit more detail. But let's talk about factions. So we have all of these gods, and we understand now that these gods are manipulating and moving things around behind the scenes. But how does that affect the groups within this world? How many kind of major factions? I think that this is something that we're going to kind of actually stick to maybe 9 factions, one for each kind of team in the war, or I guess 10 factions, one for each team, and then one very major faction being the rebellion. And we'll get more into like what the rebellion means, and as people have ideas for the rebellion, let me know. But let's talk a little bit about what kind of kingdoms there are. Do we imagine that this world has like major established like kingdoms and countries and things like that? How old is our world? How long has this game been going on? Infinite Tacos, monstrous races, they're integrated into society. Yes, I have a whole pile of races, and we're definitely going to go through. I actually wanted to go through one at a time and just kind of like yay or nay on different races and just kind of decide what's important in this world at some point. And if you guys want to do that today, we can. My goal was to shoot for about 5,000 year. Yeah, why not? 5,000 year long game. Now, when you say 5,000 year, Luminiaron, is that a time limit? Is that the game can only last 5,000 years? Or it's considered a stalemate? Or it's been going for 5,000 years. What game version is this? I imagine it's not the first. I don't know if we have to actually decide on an official what number we're starting on, but it'll be considered a... Okay, cool. So 5,000 year long game. If it doesn't end, it will be stalemate. And that probably goes in a different category than factions, but I'm typing year because we're here. The world is only 5,000 years, just like ours. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, God. Are we building our world right now? Maybe the game runs every 5,000 years. So this is just like the regular meetup. This is game night. And all teams are still in it. Yeah, that's a good point, Shiba. All... Ooh, keep getting bold for some reason. All 9 factions are still participating. I don't see orcs in our world. Maybe we don't have orcs. That's a possibility. So, what types of kingdoms do you think exist? Are there, like... honestly, in a lot of ways, this sounds to me like it's a pretty... traditional high fantasy world. I feel like there are people whose kind of whose major kingdom is just like a very regular sort of just lord's kingdom. There are a king, there are knights, there are, you know, farmers and peasants, and this is just one type of play style that a player can do, and they kind of have they have the white deck, so to speak, if you were playing Magic. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Magic, but I imagine they're playing almost like archetypes. Lumineer, and there's got to be an elf kingdom ruled by magic. Yeah, I imagine magic is another kind of major archetype. So why don't we start... and I think this will be a great way to really start defining our factions and who we choose for gods. I am going to make a new table here. Insert table. And I think that we're going to go alignment and then play style. So what alignment do we associate with what kind of thing? Insert row below. So let's start off with, we're just going to go, well, I'll actually just insert a whole bunch of rows below. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're just going to go LG, LN, LE, NG, N, NE, and CG, CN, CE. So what are these playstyles? What kind of things exist under each of these banners? So I imagine that lawful good, kingdoms, knights, and then, oh yeah, we'll add another one for the rebels. Rebellion. And hopefully eventually the whole world is the rebellion. And I imagine, like, the climax of a game set in this world, if you're actually, if you're actually going to, like, kind of play the destroy the gods way, I imagine the climax of this game is every single thing, no matter who they are, united in war against the heavens. So probably humans. And actually maybe humans aren't important in our world, but what do you associate? So what do you think each alignment's playstyle would be? What kind of stuff in the world would that be representative as? Lawful neutral is robots. I'm going to write automatons, but we both know what you mean. Lawful evil is dragons. Dragons. Chaotic evil is... Oh, Matty Morgs, welcome! We are world building at the moment. Chaotic evil is all about cheating. So what kind of stuff do you think in the world would be represented by cheating? For one thing, I imagine neutral evil, cults, a lot of different, like, kind of cult activities. I'm just going to take bold off all of these now. Infinite Tacos, doppelgangers, where? Cults. Is that a chaotic evil, or do you think that's like a chaotic neutral thing? Doppelgangers, true neutral. All right. Yes, I know, Maddie. You have ne'er before built a world. You would know not. CG has to be the rebel faction. I think the rebellion is its own faction, because I think that there are, CGs that are good, or maybe. Do you guys? How do you feel about this? Do you think that there is a faction, one of the players at the table, who has realized that the game they play is cruel and they should stop? Yeah, Bionic Sheep. That was kind of what I had in mind, but I also like the idea of possibility making the rebellion actually led by one of the gods who disagrees with the way the game is being played. Obviously Zetlian. Maybe. And so what would you guys associate with neutral good? When I think of neutral good, I think of forests. I think of, druids. I think of elves. Magic. Kind of high magic. Chaotic good, I think rogues. Chaotic neutral, I think thieves. Chaotic neutral is rogues. I was thinking... I guess that's my my distinction that I've made is a rogue is I think of a rogue as sort of the dashing hero as opposed to a thief more as the chaotic neutral. Yeah. Maybe an underground dwarven kingdom. Dwarves. The dwarves are probably on the neutral side. I imagine the dwarves are considered to a god like. In a video game, like your resource miners that are just kind of picking away, collecting gold and silver for them to use for other kind of plots. What about chaotic evil? I mean, this seems very deception evil. Well, neutral evil. I'm thinking, monsters. Neutral. Probably monsters. A lot of creatures. Do you think creatures are necessarily associated with certain alignments that they actually have? Or do you think a lot of these creatures end up lawful neutral Jedi? I mean, I would agree with you that the Jedi are chaotic evil fanatics. I like it. Do you think there's whole like kingdoms of fanatics where people group together? I like the lawful evil dragons. I think that's just an interesting pick. What about hordes? Where do you think those would fly? Who would like, what type of player would like using huge waves of like goblins and hobgoblins? Just a giant cult to the goddess of decay. Yeah, maybe. And I think some of the gods, some of like the individual kind of things will be reflected by the gods. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So what I'm thinking less is like monsters that are neutral wouldn't necessarily, like, I imagine animals are probably weapons used, Matty Morgs, by the lawful neutral. Or no, I'm sorry, not the lawful neutral. I meant to say the neutral good. I feel like animals are a tool that they would want to employ. Hordes are an evil thing. All right, yeah. So do you think? lawful evil. Do you think that that would be? And I guess it's a question of, yeah. So actually, you know what? I think that fits in really nicely. Lawful evil, or hordes, hobgoblins, goblins, and orcs, and so on. The horde, the Warcraft horde, so to speak. Yeah, the lawful evil plays by the rules. They use warriors. They use fighters, but they don't care about how many die in the process. That's an awesome point, Bionic Shiva. Oh wait, you think neutral evil though? See, I think of the horde as being something that is inherently a little bit lawful. Like they obey the kind of standard rules of play. They're not trying to manipulate, not trying to cheat. Demons are chaotic evil. Now, that raises an interesting question, Infinite Tacos. And originally, this is something that I put in our axioms. I put that this world fits into the planar system as outlined in the DMG. I'm starting to think that it might not. This world doesn't seem... what is your opinion on this? This is something that I thought was core and would be needed in order to create a world. But maybe everything that we want is already kind of in this world. I like the idea that one of the gods is just laying in wait, collecting all 5 pieces of their proverbial Exodia. I'm putting that under neutral. I feel like that's a neutral play strategy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Adding the demons, the devil/demon blood war would kind of mess up the game, because those creatures are a little bit godlike. Yeah, and Zenril, why have different planes? Just stick them somewhere else. Yeah, maybe this world sits on its own. Maybe it's not part of the planar system. I'm gonna kill that axiom. I think if we want to have demons in this world, they just exist in their own kind of. They just exist within this world. They're part of the material plane in some way. Maybe they're kind of a parallel plane, but it's part of the material plane. Yeah, it would make the game unbalanced if people could just come in and influence from the outside. You don't allow, like, a random stranger walking by to just move a piece on your chessboard. Where were we on factions? Alright. There was something I really liked. Demons are chaotic evil. Yeah, demons, a tool of the chaotic evil. Seems like 2 planes is enough. Theirs is the game board, and the upper plane where all the gods are. And I'm going to just put that under the core. 2 planes. 2 planes! They just chill somewhere waiting for the soul. Oh yes, that was Jeremy who'd said there's one person who's just assembling their Exodia combo. I definitely want to put that under neutral, because I love that being a major motivation and strategy for a group. Neutral. Exodia. They got their dwarves. I'm really loving the way neutral's going right now. They got their dwarves just farming resources, sitting deep underground where no one can get them while they assemble Exodia. Each god could inadvertently change their region. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking along the same lines, Jeremy. Different kinds of players. You got your strategist, you got your combo player, and I think neutral is gonna be your combo player. The Exodia could be a race. I feel like Exodia is like an elder titan. Maybe have fish people that are neutral. Yeah, we could do fish people. Well, we're going to get into that with races at some point. I don't know if we're going to end up having time to go too deep into races. What else? We have the chaotic good. We haven't talked about chaotic good a lot. So it seems like time is going to be a major factor. Like extra turns, and we'll think about how this kind of relates in a game way. Because I do not remember the name of the god off the top of my head yet. It'll take any human being forever to memorize all of these gods. But it was... where the gods section? Oh, Pantheon, there we go. It was... Zethlion, the god, the goddess of time. Um, oh yes, thank you, Luminaire. I imagine that strategy. I imagine that's a very Zethian strategy to kind of just take extra turns and to do things like that. I'm into that. And we're gonna go back to factions. Chaotic evil, Zerg Rush, Infinite Time. Yeah, I was thinking that would be a lawful evil thing, but do you think chaotic evil? Who is the trickster? Because there's one player who's like, which faction do you think is the biggest cheater faction? To me, that feels like chaotic evil. Also, who do you think? Where do you think undead? Who would be the fan of using the undead? That feels like neutral evil to me. I'm just gonna throw undead under there, potentially. The rebellion is the trickster. Well, the rebellion are people. I don't think the rebellion are the tricksters in this case. Or, I mean, they're act like tricksters. Robin Hood. Controlling transportation. I imagine in a lot of ways the rebellion are trying to figure out the actual rules. And I think at some point we're going to want to go through and come up with more and more rules. Lawful evil makes sense for Zerg Rush because you need to organize that shit. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'm gonna put chaotic evil and as the trickster, and then parentheses the cheater. The chaotic evil is the one that occasionally bringing their cultists back to life, just maybe influencing. And here's actually another chaotic neutral is strategic and smart people who work towards. So disruption, chaotic neutral. The chaotic neutral faction is trying to play disruption into influencing other people's plans. Yeah, and I think that fits really well with things like thieves guilds, stealing resources from major kingdoms, which is kind of, you know, and that's another thing we got to start thinking about is how these things all tied together. I imagine your chaotic neutral gods are controlling things like thief guilds and having them steal from both the lawful good and the lawful evil kingdoms, grabbing their resources, which hurts the kingdoms overall. But, you know, the people being manipulated here just see it as thieves stealing from their stores for whatever their ends are. Put that as a playstyle. The trickster would never engage in a head-on fight. I feel like, yeah, the only time the trickster engages in a head-on fight, they already know that they've won. The entire game. Lawful neutral is the blue control deck. Oh, so you think lawful neutral is like hard magic? Magic. Like heavy magic. Robots, heavy magic, the turtle. Now, here's like just another general question. How do the gods interact with the people of this world? Are they able to intervene directly? Like, do the gods make physical appearances in the worlds and kind of tell people what to do? How do they tell people how to proceed? I imagine there are things like high priests, and so in terms of just general factions, I feel like just high priests are going to be, and we can probably come up with a cooler name. People, I bet, but I feel like there's individuals who are in high positions that the gods appear to in these visions. And someone come up with a cool name for an overarching term throughout the world. Luminary, I think that the god can go between realms for sure. Intervening directly is cheating. But so there has to be some way that they're able to actually play by the rules, but you're not going to have fun with it on the lawful neutral. That's pretty good. They have to have ways. So they would have oracles, prophets, and in the end game, an avatar. So maybe like, yeah. So these are part of the rules of the game, maybe. So let's go back to the Pantheon section, and we had a little section about rules that we had talking about. No tampering with free will. No bribing the other gods. Undead are allowed, which I don't think we need to specify there. So let's talk about what are the rules. How are the gods allowed to intervene? The knowledge in the world they allow to be there controls what people know and will think. That's an interesting concept. It's also a question, though, of, like, how do they put that knowledge in? Like, where does it draw the line? I really like the idea of there being oracles. Oracles is not a term for, like... I don't think oracles means the same thing that you would think in, say, Greek mythology, where it's this kind of, like, seer on a hill, but there are people that have kind of the will of the gods told to them. So the gods can issue commands and general directions. The gods can issue commands and general directions through oracles. And I feel like there's a cap on how many oracles you can have. How many oracles do you think? I'm just going to say a maximum of 3 oracles per game alive at once. A trickster would send in false prophets and oracles. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really cool just story mechanic that we can play with. And I imagine that using this kind of not allowed to influence other factions, going to get that while we're talking about it. Not allowed to... Actually, I don't know if I would say they're not allowed to influence other factions. I feel like that's going to be an important part of the game. Because... yeah, I feel like that'd be an important part of the game, because, like, turning things over to your side, I imagine, is, like, just part of considered the skill of the manipulation and moving things around. So I don't know, I think that could be very cool. Not influence them directly. Yeah, you cannot directly speak with another god's oracle. Yeah, I definitely think that is a good rule. And I imagine in terms of, like, people kind of cheating and abusing the rules, I imagine, like, some of the lawful evil players are doing things like, when they need to change information quickly, they'll just kill an oracle out of nowhere and just change their oracle to someone else. And that would just be, you know, a strategy to them, but really it's just a cultist who just died on their god's whim for no reason. Using time to rewrite events or wars that she lost. Yeah, for sure. That's the kind of, like, strategy that that god would use. That's pretty cool. Any other big important rules? And there was some talk before. Eventually, I think it was Infinite Tacos who said, eventually someone becomes an avatar, or eventually they can summon an avatar. I think at a certain point, if you control an amount of the kingdom, you can summon an avatar. What do you guys think about that? If one of the gods gets to a certain point, they're allowed to do something. And this would be like, for example, if a cult collects enough sacrifices, they are able to summon, like, a powerful demon lord or something like that. And that would be the equivalent of, this god has gained enough power, so now they're allowed to create an avatar. Killing a god. Something bad happens. Can the gods summon angelic beings to help them fight? Gods can summon angelic beings. Alright. Yeah, and they have to do some kind of ritual. Under conditions, we'll say. Each god earns points in different manners to buy, quote-unquote, buy tokens for the board. Yeah, I think that's just like a question is how many, just almost like in a game of Risk, like how much territory you control determines how much stuff you're able to give your kingdom. Yeah, and Infinite Tacos, this would make great adventure requests, either to complete one or to prevent one, for sure. And I imagine the majority of this campaign, the people in the game don't have any idea of what's going on behind the scenes. I feel like the rebellion's something that we don't want to introduce until much later on and kind of take a long time foreshadowing it. If that's what I would do if I was running this campaign as a game. I think this is going to be most interesting just viewed from the perspective of just a regular player watching what's kind of going on, and maybe like starting to get hints that just there's something off. Vosta would like to earn point via bananas. Perhaps. Funny to have a god snap his fingers and a legion of angels surround their enemy. And I feel like it wouldn't be the god. The god would snap their fingers, and then one of their clerics on the world would snap their fingers, and then cast that high-level spell. Like, Sheba, those crazy people in the town square were actually right! Yeah, it's probably going to be the end of this game, no matter what. So, what else do we want to do? Yeah, a lot of these details will never be seen. Definitely not before level 5. Yeah, that's the earliest I would probably, mess around with any of this. So something that I think will be fun to do, because we're getting pretty close to around when I wanted to wrap things up. I was shooting for about 11 o'clock originally, 11 o'clock my time, so EST. So another half an hour or so. I think we can just go through, and let's just make a person and make a place in this world. Just one thing, and we'll flesh that individual out a little bit and give them some depth, so we start to have something to kind of ground ourselves in. So we're just gonna go whoop. Let's just make a person. What do we want to do? Who are they? Just a random person that would fit into this world. Maybe they are either a leader of some place in this world, or maybe they're one of the oracles, or maybe they are just a random person walking around, the world. I don't think we want to mess around with the rebellion yet, because I think that's going to be really key to this world. So the first idea we have coming out, Kreltar, High Priest. So Kreltar is probably one of the oracles. Kuroboe, King of Dragons. I think it sounds like no matter what we choose here, we're going to be picking an oracle of some kind. Max Meixter says me. An oracle that during a vision overheard some of the other gods talking. Make Michael the influential person. Great Prince of Order. Yeah, we're going to try and separate... I do want to completely separate the lore of this world from the lore of DnDTime. But a Prince of Order is something that we could put in, even if not necessarily Michael. Peasant 3, I'm not even opposed to that. You know what? Infinite Tacos, no, I know you do. I know you do, Max Meixter. I also didn't think it was necessarily a bad idea, as long as we kind of change it up a little bit. So let's go with one of the ones we already have here. Kreltar. King Lutinar Kurobe, so a dragon king, just a king. Kreltar, the high priest we have over here, or King of Dragons is the title, yes. The Kurobe, kind of the dragons. He's kind of the dragons. He's not like entirely the dragons, but he's sort of them. So the oracle starts the rebellion after realizing all the gods are actually together. Well, Jeremy's in the world. We don't even need to write it down. He's just in there. He's just chilling somewhere in there. See, but actually, I'm a little reticent to start messing around with the rebellion just yet. I think we should all take a week and really settle on and think about this, or not a week, take a couple weeks and really think about it. But yeah. So we got Peasant 3, we got the King of Dragons, and we got Kreltar, High Priest, and we got King Lutinar. Of those four also, wait, did we say Peasant 3? Yeah, of those four things, which of those would you guys want to make right now? Just one person, by show of hands. Which of those appeals the most? I honestly, I'm a little bit into just building Peasant 3. Alright, yeah, I'm glad that everyone was on the same page. Peasant 3. Peasant 3. Trust, yeah, Trustaflum says himself. Um, Peasant 3, I think, and I'm going to throw out an initial idea here for Peasant 3. Um, Peasant 3 is not. Peasant 3 is Jeremy. You know what? I don't. Well, we're going to keep the name Peasant 3. And Peasant 3 is the name that this particular god, the leader of whatever faction this peasant works for, has given Peasant 3. And that's what they call this person. But Peasant 3, even though they are just a peasant, is very important in some way. Why is Peasant 3 important? Maybe Peasant 3 is an important manipulative move. Peasant 3 might be extremely cheerful, go about their work every day with the utmost of sincerity and joy, because they are secretly the oracle of one of these gods, and in so doing, they inspire the people around them to also work hard and do what this god expects. Yeah, Peasant 3 is actually an oracle. Peasant 3 is an oracle. And maybe one of the gods is controlling Peasant 3 because they have huge plans in the long run for Peasant 3. For example, like Xandaril said, Peasant 3 one day will do something heroic, and that will inspire the people to follow in some way or another. And what's Peasant 3's name? Because Peasant 3 is the name that the gods... I think it's Jeremy. I mean... I was, the name of Peasant 3 is just Jeremy. If we can maybe, he's part of the Exodia combo. I don't know if it's just Peasant 3. Maybe Peasant 3 is part of the Exodia combo. Randall Thor. That's an intense name for Peasant 3. See, I like that respelling of. I like Jerome. Oh yeah, I really like Jerome. We got 2 for Jero. Maybe it's Jerome. I think that name is pronounced Jerome, and I think that's actually a very cool name that I will probably use in non-DnDTime stuff, because now you guys all know what it is, but other people won't know that it's just Jerome. Eventually we'll do something heroic that turns the tides. Whose pawn is Peasant 3? Whose pawn is Peasant 3? What alignment, what faction, what team controls Peasant 3? And I imagine that the other teams, like the other gods, all laugh at them for making one of their oracles this random peasant, when secretly this is all part of their master plan. Tizel, don't do god names yet. Just do, okay, so true neutral. Yeah, I love this. This is part of the turtle strategy. And Peasant 3, their personality. The other gods mock TN for investing in Peasant 3 so heavily. But wait till they see. Cherish makes sense, because every god needs a DD. Cherish makes sense, and so maybe this is Cherish's choice. Cherish. Awesome. Peasant 3, an important Jerome. Give Jerome a last name. If y'all want to give him another equally. What's Jerome's full name? And what does he do for a living? What does Peasant 3 do? Is Peasant 3 just... Jerome Masterson. The son of the master. Gatekeeper. I love it. I don't want to see Luminaire and Jerome Lives is a male stripper. I don't know if I want to go that, like, ridiculous on Jerome. but I really like what Xandoril... Yeah, see, these are the kind of memes I wish to avoid. Are the male stripper Jerome. But I do really like Son of the Gatekeeper. He's the gatekeeper. Son of gatekeepers. But it is very good. Cool. That is Peasant 3, Jerome Masterson. A gatekeeper. And one of the most important people in this world, little known to everyone else. He strips on the side. I cannot resist. Maybe. Up to you. If I ever run Jerome, he probably will not strip on the side. But if you run Jerome in a game, if any one of you ever play a campaign in this world, maybe Jerome is secretly a stripper. He strips bark. That's pretty good, too. That's Peasant 3. Let's do a place. I want to do one person in one place. Oh. Boop, boop, boop. So let's also make somewhere. What do you want to build? Throw some place ideas out. Crystal City, Elven Capital. All right, we got Crystal City. I got a kingdom name for Lux. Yeah, man, throw the kingdom name out. So we get Crystal City is one idea, and if there's something that you guys hear about that you really like, also you fixed the thing. Which is the thing? Don't you think D&D has enough game? Oh man, that is definitely true. Bark Bear, Animal Haven, Visanya. Babacus, a dwarven city powered by gravity devices. That could be very cool. We already know that the dwarven city is going to be kind of this neutral location. So I think that could be very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, Babacus. I don't think I've ever seen you before. It's a pleasure to have you here at DnDTime Worlds and just DnDTime in general. The Evervale, a place to go to the God Realm. Let us let's talk Crystal City. How do you guys feel about Crystal City or Visanya or the Evervale? Let's go with one of those. Jeremy, show him the kill count. Visanya. We have a vote for Visanya. I like the idea of the Evervale. Like Visanya. All right, so we have a few. I'm seeing more Visanyas than anything else. So let's go with that. Oh wait, I forgot. The bot is asleep. I forgot that cannot be done at the moment. But oh well. Visanya. So what was Visanya? Oh, Visanya. I'm sorry. It is Visanya now. The collective will has changed it into Visanya. Tell me a little bit about what you had in mind. What do you think this place is? You said it was for Lux. Which was Lux again? Was Lux the life god? I will be if I don't let the bot rest, I will be the first upon the pyre in the robot uprising. I do not wish for that to happen, and so therefore I shall not ask any more of the bot than it can do. Old. All right, cool. Ancient kingdom. Kingdom of. And what was the alignment of Lux again? That was. He was it neutral good or lawful good? probably still around. I think we're doing stuff that still exists. Although, um, let me just look. I can just go up and check it out. Who was Lux? Oh, so Lawful Good. Very good, very good. Humans on the verge. Oh, I love that. Infinite Tacos on the verge of ruin, losing. The last piece on the board for Lux. This is Lux's last thing. Grand at one time. Yeah, I think that's pretty radical. You should get all the gods on sticky notes at this point, Pete. Yeah, at some point, I'll make like notes for myself. Well, I mean, there was an influx. There was a god hurricane at that time. Yeah, Lux. Oh, yeah, and I like that. And we're gonna actually go back and put that under Lux. Actually, Lux was the winner for the first 2,000 years. Winning for the first 2,000 years and is now losing. Yep, I like that a lot, Babacus. The great cities have emptied out and the population has moved to the countryside. Knowledge of how to build the great monuments has been lost. As he slowly kind of, you might actually, but winning until somebody cheated. I imagine so. As time has, and I'm just going to copy that right in, Babacus, just going right in. The city kind of stands there, but as he's slowly kind of lost, slowly lost power, vine-covered stone brick enchanted with subtle magic makes up the building, and that's why the kingdom hasn't fallen, is because vine-covered stone brick enchanted such that the infrastructure holds. Awesome. The other gods sent all of their refugees, knowing the lawful good would not turn them away. Refugees of other kingdoms. And this is kind of like messy right now with all the stuff, but these are the kind of things that I will clean up and make the description for Vasanya a little bit more clean over the course before the next DnDTime Worlds. I'm also just going to copy and paste that and put it under Vasanya, or actually I'm going to put it under factions. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's really cool. In this guy, even though he knows he's playing the game and they'll all go away, he can't help but feel a sentimentality. Yeah, Infinite Tacos. He can't help but feel a little bit of sentimentality for the small little creatures that he kind of looks over. I think that is awesome. We made one person. We've made Peasant 3. We've made a place. We have time to maybe do one more thing before we call it a night. What thing do you guys want to add to this world? Oh, and we're going to put that actually also under history. Event. So the world, we decided roughly on how old the world is, but I can't remember what we decided on. It might have been under factions. We know that the game is 5,000 years long, so it's somewhere between 2,000 years and 5,000 years. Choose an arbitrary number of years, not 2018. But what year is it? Another place people want to do. Roll a D5,000. I'm going to roll a D3,000. Actually, would someone like to just roll an at me a D5000 in Discord, or actually, you know what, I'll just roll it. We can put up Discord. We're gonna go over to our dice hell. Oh my god, the sword has recently rolled a very big dice. Roll a D. A D5000. I will be the official roll. 1975. So it's going to be 2,000 plus that. So the year is going to be 3975. Year 420. So that's just we've just chosen that arbitrarily, and we know that insert row below, and it was LG's fall. Around year 2000, we'll just say arbitrarily year 2032, Lux's kingdom, which was winning, fell from the trickery of the other players. And we'll put cheating in there. So we want to do, everyone loves Lux because he's like the crazy uncle god. Bands of invaders will terrorize the countryside, but they cannot siege down the castles. Yeah, I think Visani is a very cool place. So we had another place. Left to the Evervale. Babakis also says another place. Xandaril says a relic from the past war. So those are the two things. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to do Evervale? And either way, we've talked about Evervale. You know what? We're just going to put Evervale in here. Insert row below. People seem to like Evervale. At some point, we'll make that how to ascend to the gods' realm. As a matter of fact, how do you guys feel about this? Maybe Evervale is like well, maybe not. No, Evervale is just the portal through which to ascend. It's the location at which people move. Maybe it's its own plane. Maybe it's a plane of transition between the two planes. And Evervale is thought of, if you go there, as being kind of heaven, but it's like an intermediary step between the gods' realm and their realm. So they have this kind of buffer between them. So that way, if a person just kind of changes, if a person moves to the gods' realm, they don't feel like they don't, see behind the scenes. So I think we do that. How to ascend to the gods' realm, Evervale. It's a transition point, and I think we can flesh that out more later. But I also really like the idea of, and I'm gonna just add a new category actually. And we're gonna go ahead and call it Control C. Other. And a relic of a previous it's a relic of a previous world. I like the idea of just building one object that is in this world, and it is something that is left behind. Maybe it's a big sword. Maybe it's like maybe there's like neutral objectives that everyone can get to. Maybe there's like a big sword that is at the bottom of a lake, sort of your classic Excalibur situation, that any kind of group could claim if they rallied their kingdom to make a quest for it. And it's very powerful, something like that. And let's going to make a new table. And we're gonna add another column thing. Thing to description. A single skull of species unknown. All right, cool. I like that. I like that, Babacus. Does each god have a powerful magic or artifacts to give to the chosen champion for the battles? My answer to that is maybe. Uh, we can make that decision. Does that something that sounds good to you? I'm really liking what Babacus is coming out with now. Insert row below. A skull. Made. Oh, hey, Wyvern, welcome. I'm glad you got here right at the end. We're crafting one final thing. Oh, paste without formatting. Always make that mistake. Skulls. Where is it? Where is this skull located, and why is it significant in the grand scheme of things? I feel like Zethaline has a stopwatch that if a player obtains can stop time. I feel like the person who has that stopwatch is whoever ends up being the leader of Zethalin's kingdom. Buried under a mountain. We're going with it. Buried under a mountain. And maybe it was uncovered by the Dwarven kingdoms. Yep, I was actually, Luminarian, we were on the exact same page. While mining. And they found this thing, and we do not know what it does. What is it? What is the skull? GG, Pete, yep. Inside a skeleton dragon belly. I mean, that would have been a cool place. I'm just going to put that... insert row below. We're just going to put that location inside a skeleton dragon belly. Just as the next time we need a cool place for an object, we'll know we have that one in the back pocket. Veins of golden mithril streak out from its location. Awesome. And then, okay. And Bionic Shiva says, it speaks. And that is a great thing for it to actually be. What it is in terms of the practical, like what it is it's a tool. It's a relic put in there that essentially allows for another oracle. Whoever holds the skull becomes essentially an oracle for the gods. It is a way for commoners to speak with gods. It's a trash-talking skull. Excellent. Language cannot be understood. And I imagine the language that cannot be understood begs the adventure, talks shit about whomever wields it. Lux's artifacts are love, the oldest and most ancient of powers. And this is how this is how Lux has fallen from power. Just gonna keep tagging it on, and I think that's rad. And we now have a cool skull. Or they turn into a chicken. We're keeping out the turn into. I'll put it on there in parentheses. No sense in writing it down. This is the end of this item description. But we're putting or they turn into a chicken in parentheses because I think that. Oh, but wait, one more, because I think Babacus's last statement there is also rad. I was going to say that people around them turn hostile. That's also cool. I don't know, I like the idea that this has become this just worshipped thing that people don't quite understand. I put it in parentheses, as if to say, this is a meme, but I will record it on note, so there's record of said meme. You know what I'm going to do for memes? If we have a good meme, I'm just going to highlight it, and then put, oh wait, undo, no! Why did that highlight like that? That's really weird. But I don't know why that's doing it like that. That's super strange. I'm gonna highlight it eventually once I figure out how to do that better, and put our memes afterwards. So if you want to play the meme edition of this world to allow for maximum memes, we can also do that. But I think we're kind of getting close to the end of time, and damn, we got something I think pretty radical here that we've been putting together. D&D meme edition. Yeah, that's meme one. We have 2 memes so far. We have that the skull turns you into a chicken, and that Jerome is a divinely sexy stripper. And we have, a reminder, and get them in under the wire. This is a thing to anyone who joined later and is not already aware. We are coming up with cool names for this particular world. If you have a good idea for the name of this world, especially now that we know so much about it and are really kind of getting into it, please let me know now, and then every week I'm going to vote on last week's names and kind of reduce them down to 1, and then eventually we'll do a big battle royale with all of the names that have won every week forever. But I think I think we did a lot more. We got a lot more done than I actually thought we were going to. So we have this awesome God War where things are being played out on these strange scales where the actions of people have little meaning and are just these things within these things within the game. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys all did as well. I think we're gonna wrap up here. Oh wait, we got a name. Neskrad. Yeah, this was a blast, and we will do this again soon. As I said before, I'm not sure how often we're actually going to be able to have time. God, Bionic Shiva, God Risk. That sudden realization when you get the context. That's very funny. And I feel like I won't mess with it. I think it's good just the way it is. I was thinking about like changing it to a C just to obfuscate it a little bit more. But I think that would be a funny name to give it. Yeah, I think that's it. Next week we will, or next week, I keep saying that. Next time we do this, we will just pick up right where we left off. Sometime either this evening or tomorrow morning, I'm going to post in the, let me see if it's still there. I'm going to post it in the useful links section on our DnDTime Discord, so that you guys can look at everything that we kind of wrote and came up with here today, and you'll be able to like post suggestions over the course of the next couple weeks, and not necessarily like whole brand new world stuff, but like edits. If you have ideas for just cool ways to like phrase different things, and you want to like polish up any of the any of the details, then you can also do that, and we'll just like all work on it together in the downtime and try and make it cool. So that way, when it's like done, we'll have something that's like semi-complete and presentable and kind of like well-written even. So no holy symbols yet. I mean, if you want to like do that over the course of the next couple of weeks, that's the kind of thing that you can put in. If you want to add details, like I know so many of you made gods today. If you want to add details for your gods, that's something that I would love to see. I would love to see people doing. And that's pretty much that's gonna be pretty much it for today. And so let me just do our usual DnDTime outro stuff. Oh, well, I can't see I'm confused. If you look beneath the stream, there are links to how you can get involved in DnDTime. Tonight was DnDTime Worlds, but we do a whole bunch of other shows. We do DnDTime Talks, which we're going to be doing tomorrow, where me and Jeremy, who was hanging out in chat before, we had Trust of Flumph in chat, who is just kind of, we just kind of talk about different topics. Tomorrow specifically, we're going to be talking about, we've been doing a series on monster types, we're going to be talking about humanoids in 5th edition. So if you have time, tune in and check out that as we go over it. And also, like I said, all the links, if you want to get on our Discord and hang out and chat, like I said, that's where the notes for this... oh, Jeremy! You still... you still here. Your presence is now known. Yeah, if you want to check out DnDTime on Fridays, where me and Trustaflump there. Also, we run one-shots with players from chat and from our viewers here on Twitch, and it's a lot of fun. We do three every Friday, and there's still time to sign up for those if you're interested. And it's at the same time this started, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. And I think that's about it. And again, thank you so much, everyone who tuned in. This was an absolute blast. I love you all very much. And thanks for making the first episode of DnDTime Worlds so awesome, because that's the thing I love about this, is you guys are the ones that came up with all the cool stuff. So thank you to you as well. And with that, I'm Pete. And I'm Pete. And this is DnDTime Worlds. Good night, everyone. I love you. Hit the off button.